really the main reason I wanted to do this film was to encourage more people to talk about their mental health, particularly if they're struggling, and to open up and discuss it. I think generally as men particularly, we tend to struggle with the concept of being open and talking about what we could perceive as a weakness or difficulties that we're going through and our emotions. So hopefully this might have some kind of benefit, and even it helps one person, then I'm glad that I've taken this step. 1 in 4 of us during our lifetimes will suffer with some form of mental illness or mental health issue, whether it's just a minor condition, such as relatively minor, such as periods of anxiety. It could be depression, or it could be more serious mental health issue or condition. Well, my poor mental health story started really a few years ago, and like most people, my mental health took a serious dip, really due to a combination of a lot of different incidents coming together at the same time, and eventually getting to overload me, where I felt that I really needed to, I eventually felt that I needed to get some support and sort something out. Many people who know me would say I'd probably be the last person they'd suspect of having mental health or poor mental health issues. But again, my story started with this combination of conditions and situations that brought me into quite a bad place. And it started off with probably the sudden death of my father, quite unexpectedly. I was working at the top of my game in a very high pressure and responsible work position. I was also suffering with poor physical health and being diagnosed with a lifelong health condition which caused me to have sleep problems and be in constant pain and fatigue. And also then my mother was diagnosed with vascular dementia, and so was my stepfather, who consequently died sometime afterwards. But during the time we were caring for actually all of these 3 parents or surrogate parents and holding down a very difficult job. Typically for a bloke of my age and my background, I resisted the thought or the notion that I was struggling and that I needed help. And some of it was macho, some of it's due to my positive nature, trying to talk myself out of it, and also a lot of it was cultural as well. I think from my background, whether it's cultural from my ethnicity being Mediterranean and my father being quite macho, and we never spoke about feelings or warmth or love particularly well. And I was also the go-to person to support and to be strong, and people looked up to for the answers and for support. I was the carer rather than the cared for. So I felt really that I'd be letting people down as well as myself if I didn't keep on trying to cope. I guess whilst I was struggling and suffering at this time, my stubbornness really stopped me from getting help or speaking to anyone about it, and I guess that really contributed to me getting worse and worse, and eventually needing perhaps more more definite intervention. So one day, I think my father had passed away a week or so beforehand. Was dealing with all his arrangements, and I was at work. I was going in and out of boardrooms and meetings, being my usual confident, positive self. But then I was leaving the meetings and going down to the car park to sit in my car and have a good cry, just breaking down. And it was that point really that I realised that I needed some kind of support, and I couldn't just do it on my own. The start of my acceptance of my mental health issue really is a bit clouded because I don't really fully understand or remember a lot about it. But I think it was that breaking down in the car parks at work, and then eventually speaking to work colleagues and then my family about it, and from doing that quickly got a lot of support from people I trusted and cared about me, and I knew that they were genuine. Then I got to see my GP, and my GP eventually got me lined up with some group counselling through the local NHS centre, and straight away got me some medication, some antidepressants, which sort of worked quite well. They took the time, and that and talking to people about it, talking to friends, started my road to recovery and accepting that I had an issue that I needed to get some help on, really. Often the first thing people say when you have a mental health issue, which all of us will have at some time or another, is that self-help, or acceptance first of all, and then being willing to help yourself. So that was the first thing I had to learn, is to be a little kinder on myself, to stop pushing myself so much, and to accept that I had some kind of failings at the time, and that I needed to slow down and get some other people to help me with find solutions to my issues. Talking about these things was by far the best thing, and it suddenly became a load off my mind. Then I started to be far kinder on myself in terms of my expectations. I was not so tough on myself. I slowed down on some of my ambitions and some of my goals, which really helped, because a lot of the problems that I was facing were self-imposed. I started to cut down on my workload, and in fact shortly afterwards I decided that work was a large contributor to my mental health, poor mental health, and so I decided to semi-retire, go self-employed, so I could control when I worked, who I worked for, and if I was feeling rough or not up to it or didn't want to work for, I just wouldn't. Trying obviously not to let clients down, and that was one of the best things I did. Obviously I then filled my gap because I still had a lot of energy and time to give, so I spent a lot of my time then volunteering. And again, I think volunteering is such an underrated achievement for people, because not only are you giving back, and whilst you're giving back you feel better about yourself, you feel that you're achieving something, and you feel good about society and yourself. And particularly I was doing environmental volunteering and community work and meeting a lot of people, and I was so surprised to realise that the vast majority of people I was working with as a volunteer had the same kind of issues, or had come on a similar journey to myself, or at different stages of that journey. So that really helped in knowing that I wasn't so alone, and I shouldn't be so ashamed about having poor mental health. Other things that I've done to help me is this: walking in nature, just enjoying the fantastic scenery that we've got around us, and getting down with nature and just listening to the birds, the trees, the water flowing. And there is evidence from earth.org that suggests that those living close to green spaces are 55% less likely to suffer with poor mental health. And there's something about the colour green and being within green nature actually that sparks off serotonin levels, happy hormones within your body. So that certainly helps for me. I've taken up biking, mountain biking. I'm getting myself fit, and again, the more fitter and resilient you are, the better my mental health has got, and I've become far more stronger physically and mentally, in able to actually to shrug off the pressures and stresses of day-to-day living. Diet helps. I've changed my diet, cut down on alcohol, and eating better and more regularly helps. Give myself treat days and having targets and holidays to look forward to really has helped with my depression. And really, even if it's a small treat at the end of the day, try and set yourself a treat at the end of every single day, whether it's seeing someone that you care for that you haven't seen, or phoning someone, or if it's a nice unhealthy snack once in a while, or a drink, then have something that you set as a goal to say, well done for going through the day and struggling through different things, and getting to where you are. Finally, sleep and relaxation is a massive thing. And again, at the time of my impending depression, I wasn't sleeping well, probably because stress and anxiety about family issues. I wasn't sleeping well because of my physical issues. So again, getting into a good sleep routine really helps build up your strength and resilience emotionally. And relaxation and mindfulness. I often come to places like this and it just automatically clears my head. All I'm doing is concentrating on what birds I can hear, what I can view, what I can see around me, and just enjoying nature. And very quickly, all the concerns and thoughts about deadlines, about clients, about invoicing and chasing bad payments just goes completely out of view, and I just relax. I do Tai Chi, stretching exercise really helps, and so that really does help me to get into the zone where I clear out the perhaps harmful thoughts and anxieties or negative thoughts of the day, and it actually releases energy in my body then to actually cope with other rigours and stresses of that day.